Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Enlightened Investors, Dr. Allen here with Brook's Everline. Brooks inspires us with his story of developing from a UPS driver with nothing to do on the long hauls but listen to audiobooks and podcasts. 3 episodes of one podcast on one long haul changed his life from wage earner to real estate entrepreneur. In only 4 years, Brooks found his time freedom to live life as he chooses. Before we get into Brooks' inspiring story, Enlightened Investors, please head over to steedtalker.com and leave a comment about the episode. Let me know what you like, what you want more of or less of. This show's for you, so tell me what you want. Welcome to the show, Brooks. Tell us about your inspirational journey from W-2 to successful real estate investor.
Oh my, this is a unique story, I hope. I'm a UPS driver, right? I made the transition from delivering house to house, the boxes that the guy comes up to your house, right? You know what I mean? And I made a change over into the tractor trailer world where we take them now from building to building. Mm-hmm. A good friend of mine and a coworker at the time, when I made that change, he came to me and we had been friends since high school. And he said, look, I don't know what you're going to be doing out here. A lot of guys like to talk on the CB radio and things like that. But here's my Audible account. It has Audible, audible.com, which was, where you can listen to books and things like that. And he said, take a look at some of these books. Pay attention to like the Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I wasn't thinking much of it at the time. And as all I had was time, right? You're driving and that's all you have. So I started to listen to these books. That kind of got my wheels turning in a different direction as far as like your purpose for life. And this will lead us to where I'm at in real estate. He also mentioned that I should try listening to podcasts. I hadn't heard of podcasts at that time. This has probably been 5 or 6 years ago now. So I'm scrolling through this podcast. I believe it was on Stitcher. Stitcher was what I was using at the time. And I'm scrolling through, I see this thing called Real Estate. It was, the title of it was, I'll never forget, it was Lifestyles Unlimited. It's a group out of Houston, Texas. And they're talking about buying apartment buildings, large apartment buildings, syndications and things like that. So I'm going from Philadelphia, PA down to Baltimore, Maryland, listening to this guy's show. And I consume like 3 to 4 episodes. And I'm like, I'm doing something wrong, like with life. I immediately, that got my start. I immediately came home, signed up for it was an online course. I can't even remember what it cost at the time. It wasn't very expensive. And it taught the single family model and the multifamily model, basically how to buy real estate with no money down, cash out. So that's what I did. That got me started in real estate. That's a long wind of it.
What was the first real estate transaction you got into?
So as an investment property, the first real estate transaction was a 4-unit vacant apartment building in one of the markets that we work. It had been labeled like, a drug house. I can still remember the first day I bought it. The neighbor came over and he's like, are you going to be the owner of this property? And he's giving me the backstory of it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't plan to let it go like that, right? It was a vacant 4-unit building, needed work. I bought it with private money and used the course just as the course had showed how to do this. Found a private money lender who was actually a friend of my wife. He funded the entire purchase price and rehab. I brought a contractor on. We got the deal done. Long story short, refinanced that first property, pulled $6,000 out at closing on a cash out refinance. So I was like, wow, okay, this guy's stuff is not only true, it works. Uh-huh. It was very refreshing, kind of really sparked the momentum, really gave you the momentum to go after it, right? So that was the first transaction that we did.
And so how many years ago was that?
Oh, that was probably 4.5 years ago now. 4.5 years ago.
Where are you now?
As far as units, we're right around 30. We didn't go storming at buying a bunch of rental properties. We actually made a little change a couple times in the business. We did a few more rental properties after that, same methodology. Then the contractor that was providing the work, for the multifamily rehabs said, hey, look, maybe we should try rehabbing some houses. So we did that. I think we did eight of those successfully retail to market. And then I stumbled across a gentleman by the name of Tom Kroll with Wholesaling Inc. I was listening to these podcasts and I was like, my goodness, what is this thing called wholesaling? So I started to learn more about that, and I said, this is for me. It fits my personality very, very well. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy the dialogue, the meeting sellers at their kitchen tables. I like putting the deals together. That's what I enjoy from about the last 18 to 24 months. That's been our sole, not our sole, but that's what we're focused in mainly, is acquiring discounted property and either assigning those out or buying them ourselves. We still buy a good portion of those. We're still accumulating rentals. It's the best of both worlds. Where I'm at right now is the best of both worlds, because most quote unquote, and I hate to use this word wholesalers, because that's not what I would consider myself at all. I'm a real estate investor through and through, because we understand what it means to put a deal together. We know all the ins and outs, and if no one wants to take our assignment at this point in our business, we do. We just buy the property. I mean, that's how we're set up. It's been really, really, it's been a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of different things now. So that's kind of where our business model is right now at this time.
Well, let's go back to where it all began. If you can go back to a formative experience, and it could be your childhood, or actually your childhood could be anywhere from 1 to 40 years old.
Yeah.
Talk to us about a formative experience that has really been, as you look back on it, you go, that really was a turning point in my life.
As far as mindset, Alan, or getting me started with real estate, is that what you mean? Or just because I can tell you what really, that moment that I described to you, where my friend and coworker, he allowed me to use his Audible account, really was a changing point in my life. Like, it really was, because I had been with UPS at that time for probably 12 years. Make really good money, have benefits. I mean, it's a very comfortable living, right? I had no real worries or anything, but it changed the way I thought about what I was doing and what I needed to be doing. I hope that makes sense, for you. But that was really because my childhood was set where my parents worked jobs, right? They were employees, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But had he not shared that Audible account with me, I'm not sure you and I would be talking today, or I would ever have bought a piece of real estate other than the homes that I lived in. You know what I mean? I would say that was the biggest turning point for me as far as a mindset shift.
It was certainly the Audible books and the podcast. We can thank your friend for all of that.
Yeah.
But what was it in your life that allowed you? I mean, a lot of people could listen to those same podcasts, those same audio tapes, and go, "Oh, that's interesting. That's nice." Gone on with their careers in UPS. What changed? What was it about you that it flipped the switch? It turned on the light bulb there.
I am an individual that, if something makes sense and I hear it and it processes and it all clicks, I am going after it. That's what that did for me. Like, I've been an athlete, competitive sports all my life. I know how to train, put yourself in the best condition and get yourself outwork people, right? Just outwork it. You know what I mean? I can't remember the quote. You may know this. I think it's 10,000 hours that someone will dedicate to their craft. to become an expert.
Right.
That's what I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
Like real estate has just, I devour it. I devour it every day. It's, and I like it, right? I won't settle for, like, I'm that type of person that, like, I don't want to be second best at it if I know that I can do better. You know what I mean? So that changed me. When I'm listening to these books and things are starting to click, I'm just taking action, taking steps towards it, right? Ever since that day, 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, whenever that was. I'm sure you've heard the book or read the book, The Slight Edge, or it's little steps every single day in that direction. Every day I'm taking steps to better myself in that business, whatever it is that I'm doing. And as long as I'm taking little steps every day, you're getting there. You're getting there. So I guess that would best be how I would sum it up.
So looking back on your life, where did you develop that mindset that I'm always going to be the best at what I am?
I would say that some of that, I think it would be wrong of me not to mention, is hereditary, right? I think you get some of those from your genes and your traits, right? So my father is that way, athletic, competitive, driven, right? I guess, for lack of better words, I think that's where most of that would come from. My grandfather, I witnessed and watched him work very hard and be diligent as an entrepreneur in his own right, right? And as I look back at this, I kind of see myself follow this model, because he worked a W-2 job. Again, very, very good W-2 paying job, but he did his own thing that he really enjoyed and loved, which was like construction, right? And building of things, working with his hands. I saw it, all growing up. I witnessed that kind of drive, that kind of work ethic, and I'm almost 40 now. I don't feel 40 at all. I don't know what 40 feels like, but I mean, I still feel, when you're waking up and you like what you do, there's no, I don't know. I just think that it's a great feeling. There's no better way to live your life, for sure. And I guess that's how I would answer that question.
Well, it's nice always to talk about our successes, accomplishments, but all successful people have had to learn how to deal with setbacks and disappointment. Talk to us a little bit about a major setback and disappointment that you have had to face. How did you face it? What did you learn from it? And what has come out of that?
I think the biggest, to date, the biggest disappointment or setback would have been, having to go through a divorce. That is a big, big deal, right? With children involved and things like that. That was very, very challenging. Not only financially, for everyone else involved, right? It's a challenge on many, many levels. What I did with that, my mindset was that, number one, this isn't going to define me. Number two, it's not going to stop me from getting to where I need to be. And number three, I'm going to evaluate, why did I get here? After doing all of those things, I'll bring you up to speed. I'm not remarried, but my ex-wife and I now are still a couple. We've been able to reunite that for our children, and I was able to do some self-reflecting. So yes, I had some setbacks with that. I had to do some self-evaluating. I had to, prioritize some things in a slight different manner, and it set me back financially. But as I look back, a lot of good has come from it as well. I've learned a lot of things. I've learned some things about myself, how to handle situations differently. I don't always have to be right. As a type A person and driven, that can be a difficult problem for us, right? You want to impose your thoughts and those ways of thinking, and that's not the only way to think, as we all know, right? But in the moment, we're not thinking that way.
Right.
I've learned a lot of things. It's made me a gentler person, I would say. It's made me calmer. It's made me just more relaxed. I'm not saying that I'm not perfect in that regard, because you are who you are, but it's definitely helped me tremendously. I'll tell you right now that, I'm back to where I was and better off, and much better off. It was a setback for a period of time in my life for sure, but it was definitely a learning experience.
I can certainly empathize with that and actually kind of share the same experience. At the time, my separation and divorce, I thought that was certainly the worst day in my life. But as I have always looked back on it, I go, that really was actually the best day of my life. It was a moment of freedom and transformation that has made all the difference in the world. It's not to say it wasn't a very difficult period to go through. It certainly was. But as I look back on it, it was the best thing that could ever have happened.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes as we look back on a lot of those very difficult times in our life, we can look back on those and go, wow, I didn't like it at the time, but it really was a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, talk to us about where it is you find your big why, your big purpose, your meaning in life.
This is a great question. And I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with really digging this out of themselves, the real why, because I think a lot of people misconstrue it with money or accumulation of assets and things like that. And my real why, it's plain and right in front of me every day, is I'm after time freedom with my kids, with my schedule. Like, that's my ultimate why. Like, and as I look back, I have spent too many hours in the grind, right? It was for something. Don't get me wrong. Like, that all paid off. But I learned a lot going through that grind as to what is really important. For me, it is nothing else other than what real estate provides as far as time, freedom for my schedule, the passivity of it, because we have enough rental properties really at this point. I mean, to do, and it's not a lot. I could accumulate a whole lot more rental property, but I'm kind of already free from having to go to go do that every day. So it's time. It's time for me. That's what I'm after. That's my why. Time with my kids, being able to travel more, being able to do things that you gave up while you were sacrificing to get to where you're at. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's my why.
It is a difficult thing for us to find, and I don't know, a lot of times it seems like we find it and we forget it. And it's easy for entrepreneurs, business people, to look at the demands of that schedule, to forget the why, and just go after what is right in front of us there. So it's good that you have discovered that, and you've got it in front of you every single day, that you can keep it there in front of where you are.
It changes. I think it changes for people, though. Seasons of life, times of life. Like when I was going through the divorce, it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't the same why. I mean, it was very different. And I think as you go through different seasons, that could change for an individual. But for me, it's no more than ever now is about freedom of a schedule, time freedom, to be able to shut it down when I need to and have it open when I have to. So that's the biggest thing for me.
It's wonderful talking with you today. Tell our viewers and listeners how it is that they can connect with you.
Sure. So if you wanted to reach me, you could certainly go at Facebook. That's probably the easiest way. Search Brooks Everline. You'll find me there. You could email me at brooks@ynphomesolutions.com. That's an easy way to get a hold of me as well. That should be it. A Facebook Messenger, anything like that, I'll be able to respond to immediately.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Alan, I appreciate you having me. It's been a blast. Thank you so much.
enlightened investors to spearhead your life to time freedom to live abundantly, head over to steedtalker.com and pick up your free guide to passive real estate investing. Also, please take a moment and go to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Your review will help us immensely to spread the stories of successful real estate investors whose lives inspire others to passively invest in real estate to live a life of time freedom, to live more abundantly in all areas of life. Enlightened investors, prosperous trails to you until we meet again.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.